Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Nightly Chats, part 17. I gotta work on my introduction, I know. Intro? Intro. Sorry, I'm a bit tired tonight. It's a bit later. And also it's thundering and I think it's raining, I think. So if you hear like thunder in the background, don't mind it. It's just, thundering in my area and just things happen. But yeah, actually tonight, I wanted to talk more about OCs because yesterday I talked about the lore and some lore, but mainly about the setting of like where my story takes place in, 3 worlds, yada yada. I know. But actually, now I want to talk more about the specific like characters, the trio, you could say, even though they all take place in different times and settings. I should probably begin with my first OC. Well, not my first per se, but the main OC that really cemented themselves in like my mind. Like I spoke about this in yesterday's video, but how there are certain OCs that we created long ago that have just stayed around no matter how or what. These OCs have stayed with us. Oh man, why am I yawning so much? These OCs have stayed with us, right? And so Senko, again, I think if you guys heard that's again thunder. I keep forgetting. I want to make a better, maybe a better name, because Senko I made it long ago, so I feel like I can make a better name, but honestly Senko might stick. But Senko is like an OC that has stayed around since, well, basically forever. He's gone through many like changes, many like again, I never drawn my characters. God, why am I yawning? Oh, must be the music. Yeah. But like I've never drawn a character before, like a full character. I've never actually drawn one. Actually, that's a lot. I drawn like maybe one character. No, one character, but it was like, again, it was a dumb portrait. I'll see if I can show you guys. But in my opinion, it wasn't good. But again, I am a beginner artist, so who the hell knows really what's good and what's good not. Let's see if I can find it in here. It should be around here. What was that? Oh. The page is going together. Actually, I could probably show you guys this this art book, like the sketchbook I'm going through. It has some like designs I've wrote. Where is it? It's this, right? Again, I don't know. In my opinion, again, I drew this about maybe a year ago. I don't know, like maybe a year ago. I can't remember anymore. But it was like when I was really into drawing. I was really into drawing. Well, I stopped, but I was really into drawing. But then I stopped because I think I got burnt out. Either that or I just I gave up, kind of. So I want to get back into it. But that's the only design I have of like Senko, but even then, that design's not final. Not in a million. Like not a billion. God, I'm yawning so much. I'm sorry. That is one thing about these nightly chats is that I'm doing these like when I'm like not tired, but like when I should be asleep. But okay, whatever. Okay, let's get back onto it, like topic. Senko in my story. Again, each main character, like the trio, have some type of like moral or like value that they learn through either like through their story. Senko, the whole thing about Senko is that he refuses to change. The moral of his story, again, none of these things are like final. But for the most part, he refuses to change. And you might be saying, "Oh, how so?" He was taught by his mother, his circumstances and all that stuff. He was raised by a single mother, not because the father, was out of the father was out of the picture forcibly. He kind of died before Senko was born, so that's that. But he was raised on the values of mercy, kindness, and to show people I already said kindness, but to show people mercy, right? That even your enemies deserve a second chance. And again, those are good morals to live by, that you should be merciful, you should be kind to others, you should try to be a good person. But in the time period Senko is, there's war, and I hate to say it, but in war a lot of times mercy is a privilege. Well, not a privilege, but it's something that can definitely backfire, because if you give mercy to the wrong person, then that person can definitely come back later and make your life hell, which is exactly what happens to Senko. Because Senko has the moral of his story is that mercy is not weakness. He should give people mercy, but he should change his ideals to, instead of giving mercy to every single person, he should first he should first see if they deserve, right? If they will truly change. Because the main point of his story was that at first he was supposed to be his father. His father was a merciful, a kind, and a very generous guy. His father believed in second chances. But his father also knew that there were some people who will never change, even if you did try and give them all the help they needed, or like if you try and save them, they would never change, not because they couldn't, but because they didn't want to. But Senko never learned that. Never. Well, he did. He had like friends in his group that told him, "Hey, I appreciate this how you are, but this is going to lead to like something happening." This is going to lead to something happening, and you should try and change, or along those lines, change. But he refused, not because he didn't want to change. It's because changing because at this point his mother was dead, yada yada yada, things happen. And again, it's jumping around the story, but at this point in his story, his mom is long gone, and he feels like changing his morals, his ideals would be like a dishonor to his mom, to like everything his mom believed in, which is again, you can see where he's coming from, because this is the last thing his mom taught him, and he's had to leave at such a young age that this is all he knows. And so to him, like changing his ideals is like like again like a dishonor to his mom, and so he doesn't want to change, even though he should. And the whole, like, the story goes on. He gives mercy to the wrong person. That person comes back later, and basically this like destroys his life, and then pushes, like, throws him down like a path of no coming back. Where again, by the end of his story, he is a good, well, he's a hero, yes, but he's not a good person. He's done, because at this point he threw away mercy, he threw away kindness, he threw away second chances, because now, to make his ideals at the end of the story is that he will do anything to make sure peace is won, or like to make sure that people are like, maybe basically he went from second chances to like kind mercy to doing anything and everything possible to win, to make sure people are like, to some, like, make sure the innocent are protected, anything and everything. So yeah, he's a hero, sure, but he's not a good person. Now, like, that moral is that if you refuse to change even a little bit, life will usually force that change, and it won't. Again, I still gotta work the kinks out of and everything, but that is the whole thing of his story, that change is not bad, change can be good, and that you shouldn't push away change, because sometimes pushing away the change could lead to disaster, or it could lead to consequences, or like kind of like that. Then we go to, I haven't been writing, I haven't been drawing. We go to another character, the Soul. I've named them. Again, none of these names are concrete, especially Soul. At first, because she's supposed to come from a clan of sun bearers or sun bringers, or like sun people, and her name Soul, which is just the Spanish name of sun. I thought it was clever. I wrote like some of these characters' names. I wrote like long time ago. So give me some leeway. But yeah, so her story is that refusing to accept the truth could often lead to the harm of others, because again, she comes from a lineage of sun bearers, or like people who worship the sun and use the sun to protect others. And remember, her setting takes place in the land of heavens, where like big giant floating islands, or like land, like basically every continents are floating in the sky, and the name people call them are the land and heavens. And so basically I'll try and put her story shorten, well, not shorten, but like a summary. Basically, her people were massacred because their people were supposed to be protectors. They were the protectors of the land at this point. And after a war that didn't cripple them, but definitely weakened them, one person took the opportunity to go in and slaughter them all, because they knew that if the Sunbringers were alive, that their plan could not work to conquer the lands. And so their people were slaughtered, except for her, because her family they weren't able to escape, but they were able to sneak her out, put her on an airship, and send her away. They died though, but at least she got to live. Then she was found by either an elderly man or elderly person, around like in a merchant town. And then she was raised by this elderly person, and as she grew up, she just grew up to live a normal life for the most part, where it's work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, basically that. And she's grown, not complacent, but she's grown like accustomed, comfortable. She's grew up with the system. She doesn't really want to do, like, that's her life basically. That's what she believes, that this is her life, that that's just how things are. Until one day she's found out to be a sun bearer, even though she doesn't know what the hell that is. She's taken in, she's almost executed, but a rebel group is like freeze her. And then the whole hijinks journey goes on, where they try and tell her that you are a part of this group, that you are a sun bearer, and you like not destined, but your lineage has protected these lands for centuries, and that you will be one of them. And she refuses. Because she doesn't, like, to her, she doesn't want this high life or like adventuring, heroism, and grand journey. She just wants to sit back, work, relax, and sleep. She's grown so accustomed to a simple life that this giant life of like grand threats, taking down a king, like going against an army, having like a blessing powers, is just outlandish to her. So she doesn't want anything to do with that, and she refuses to accept the truth. Until that, because she refuses to accept the truth, things happen, and the person who raised her ends up dying, like sacrificing themselves to save her. And then finally, after seeing just how basically losing someone so close to her, she finally accepts that she she accepts this role, that she is a sun bearer, and that it is her duty to protect the land. Even if she doesn't really know what to do, she will learn, and she will try all to honor basically her parent. And yeah, that is her story, is basically about truth and responsibility. Yeah, truth and responsibility. Where, again, every main character, and every character for the most part, is flawed in some, not major, but in some way. They all have a type of flaw that makes them more human, because no human is perfect. Senko, well, yes, he at the start of the story, he's a good person. He believes in mercy, second chances. He's also stubborn. He doesn't change, which causes him his friends basically. Soul, and a hardworking, head steady, worker, who does actually, in her town, she does help out the other people. She helps out her mom. She helps out her parent, or her foster parent. But yeah, you understand. She helps out the townsfolk. She helps with crops. She helps with the animals. She's a good worker. She's a good person, but she's also, again, kind of stubborn, delusional. How do you accepting the truth? I might have to change the morals, but she just doesn't accept the truth, because you could say that's god damn it, that you could say that's also another way of refusing to change. Accepting the truth is kind of change. God damn it. And that's one thing about writing those characters and their lore, is that sometimes they mix together, and then you have to rewrite a couple of things, and it's oh my god. Okay, let's move on. Faith, one of the newest actual characters. Faith is I don't think I'll have time to explain him, actually, now that I think of it. I'm growing sleepy too. Yeah, I think that'll be it for right now. I uploaded Sunday. I wasn't actually going to upload because Sunday is supposed to be the day that I take time off, but I just decided, what, I'll upload Sunday. But I think now that's taking a toll today. I gotta go sleep. But yeah, that would be it for tonight, anyways. For me, I talked about Senko and then Soul a little. I mainly talked about Senko. Didn't really get into Soul. I'll probably give more details about Soul and then now the newest OC of mine that actually had a main impact on like the stories is Faith. But yeah, for now, I think that's it. So if you enjoy this, well, yeah, if you enjoyed this video, then if you want, drop a like, a comment, and subscribe for more. I appreciate you if you stay all the way to the end. And if you're oh yeah, I uploaded my first short yesterday. Did pretty good in my opinion. But again, I don't know what's good and what's bad when it comes to shorts, and I don't know how to do a good short. So yeah, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, that'll be it. And I hope if you, God, I hope if you're watching the well, no, you're watching this. God, I'm such a mess. I need to go to sleep now. I hope that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, good evening, and a good night. But until then, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.